Welcome back to the club. Do you trust your bank? That's the question. Do you trust them to not lose your money or maybe even give you the best deal? We're talking with Anthony Thomson, who has created 2 banks in the UK and now is creating another one called 86400 in Australia. We're also talking with Chris Skinner, the author of 14 books. He's a global finance and banking expert. We're talking all about banks. Check it out. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Disruptors Club. I'm here with Anthony Thomson, AT, the man himself, and Chris Skinner. Anthony is the chairman and co-founder of an Australian neobank, 86400, founded also and former chairman of the UK challenger bank, Atom Bank and Metro Bank. Welcome, AT, to the Disruptors Club. Chris, a renowned financial author, recently wrote Digital Bank and another book called Digital Humans. So really digging into the digital finance. Expert and global speaker on banking, finance, and fintech. His website, thefinancer.com. Check it out. Welcome to the Disruptors Club. Anthony, I'm going to start with you. Tell us about, you keep making these banks and things like that. Like, why do you keep making banks?
Great question. Several parts to the answer to that. First is, I'm a marketer by background. And as a marketer, I believe passionately that profit is a byproduct of doing something good for the customer. If you give the customer a better product or a better service or a better experience, and you manage your business well, you'll be profitable. And businesses need to make profit. People who put up the risk capital need to be rewarded. The people who work in the business, you need to retain profits for investment. But that should be a byproduct of doing something well for the customer. And I look at banking in the UK, which is where I started, and here in Australia. And I think the big 4 banks have lost sight of the customer. They think they're just in business to make money. And I think there's a great opportunity, as we proved in the UK, and I hope we can prove here, to create a new bank that puts the customer first, gives them a great experience, gives them great products, gives them a great service, and makes some money as a result of that.
Now let's talk about digital banking right now. Obviously, like you said, AT, it's been around in the UK for quite a while now, and I think there's a lot of innovation that's taken place. But I want to ask you, Chris, in terms of the market in banking right now around the world, how are you seeing the market in terms of banking, and how are these neobanks having an impact on those new markets?
Yeah, I mean, the neobanks at the moment are in different flavors. So there's some that are very specialized and they're not really providing full banking. They're just doing prepaid cards and payments and transactions. There's others that are very niche, like Stripe, that are just doing a specific activity and they're not banks at all. And then there's some that are forming that are going to be full service banks. And Anthony's launched Atom Bank in the UK, which is a full service digital bank. Equally, there's many others in the UK. And what you tend to find in the markets where we're seeing a lot of these neobanks, challenger banks being created, is that they have great ideas and great vision, but they don't have customers and they don't have history, therefore they don't have trust. And so the challenge is, how do you get customers to switch to trust you when you haven't got any history and you haven't got any trust? It grows over time, and what tends to happen is that a lot of these neobanks focus on becoming your second choice bank, because it sounds cool and trendy. I'll open an account and see what it's like. And then over time, the more that bank serves you better than your traditional bank, the more likely you are to switch and to actually start doing more activities in the neobank. But so far, it's a challenge to actually get any breakthrough. Probably the biggest breakthrough that I've seen in terms of new banks is something like Marcus, but that's come from Goldman Sachs. And that's because they have, obviously, a big investment bank history. But we are seeing some successes in UK challenger banks, and I think we'll see some here in Australia.
Can I pick up on 2 of the points that Chris made, which I think are really interesting? First is around trust. Unlike Chris, I've only written 1 book, but part of that was looking at research into trust. And it's this very vexing question. You have all of these consumer groups who say, consumers don't trust the big 4 banks. And then the big 4 banks produce this huge amount of research which says, look, customers do trust us. And you go, how can this be? They can't both be right. The answer is actually, they are both right. Because psychologists tell us there are 2 types of trust. There is what's called cognitive trust, which is about competence, and associative trust, which is about intent. So cognitive trust is, do I trust you, my bank, my big bank, that if I put my salary in, it'll still be there the next day? Yes, I do. Do I trust you, my big bank, that you'll make my mortgage payment on the third Thursday of the month? Yes, I do. Do I trust you, my big bank, that if I go to an ATM to draw out $200, my card will work? Broadly, yes, I do. So consumers trust the big four banks to be competent. Second kind of trust is called associative, which is about intent. And put simply, it is, do I trust you to have my best intentions at heart? And the answer with the big banks is, no, I bloody don't. So the new banks have a challenge. They've got to establish that they're competent, because nobody's seen them. And they've got to establish that they have your best interest at heart. But at least in that place, we start ahead of the existing banks, because everybody's convinced, and I think the Royal Commission has proved this, that consumers don't believe the banks put them first.